Okay, I will do that. So our speaker today, like I mentioned before, is Bill Benneyan, and he's the Executive Director and General Manager of the Hermitage Club, which is now, as we know, under new ownership. So Bill is a Greenfield native. He spent 10 years in Brattleboro, was Executive Director of the Cross Country Ski Areas Association, which was based here, and then the Regional Alpine Director for U.S. Skiing, which was also formerly based in Brattleboro, across from the post office. He was active in bike racing for Putney West Hill and worked with both Hank Lang and Brian Stickle, producing various bike and triathlon events. Both he and his wife also worked in hospitality in Brattleboro at the Tavern, and his wife Carrie was part of the team when the Chesterfield Inn opened. They left Brattleboro to work for Burton Snowboards while his wife returned to business school, and then he moved to the big city where she began her long career with Deloitte, and he turned his talents to event production. Eventually, skiing sang its song again, and he joined Mountain Creek, Vernon Valley Great Gorge as president and general manager, a hopping, if not short, ski area in northern New Jersey. He stayed there for 23 years, partially because it worked well for family and partially because he founded a dynamic environment for invention and development on the leading edge of an age of rapid change in the ski industry. And with those credentials, he's now at the Hermitage Club. So Bill, are you with us?
I'm here. Hello.
Oh, great.
Just in time. You guys, oh, excuse me. Phone is
blowing up.
Yeah, it's part of the story. Welcome. Thank you. It's good to be back in Southern Vermont. It just took 30 years to get here. And we've been wondering why we left all along. So as mentioned, I think if you follow the news in February, a group of members of the club purchased the asset out of bankruptcy for about $8 million and got the keys on May 13th, once the deed had closed and everything was settled up. And I began shortly after with the task of reopening the ski area and reinvigorating the membership. It's a very unique business model. There are only two private ski areas, truly private club membership ski areas in US, ourselves in Yellowstone in Montana. This is unique because it's member owned. There's no debt and there's no mortgage. It's all member dues driven, which is quite interesting. So it's an extraordinary building and collection of assets. It's great mountain, but the budget is not so opulent as the asset. It will need to run on the same kind of tight budget that most 200-acre ski areas run on. And that's my charge. It's been fairly well cared for over the last couple of years, but it is a startup business. It's like starting, a new business with a couple of friends in a garage, starting from getting a phone number, getting a phone line, and going from there. So it's been a busy 6 or 8 weeks while we do that. Our snowmaking system is in good shape. We've been pressure testing it. The lifts have been inspected. And are in good shape. So the infrastructure is there. As I mentioned, we have about 180 members today. We expect to be closer to 250 by the time we open for the season at the end of November. There's a lot of interest. It's a great product, and particularly with the world pandemic and the pressures of COVID, it's driving more people to move to this area, up out of the cities that have the means to be part of a private club. And the fact that the density is so low here, on a typical day, our attendance is, maybe 10% of what you might find at another 200-acre resort, or certainly next door at Mount Snow. So that's become attractive as people are thinking about how do I still enjoy the outdoors in a safe and distanced way? And honestly, a lot of our time is spent, as most of the ski industry has been this summer, planning on how to operate with both existing and anticipated restrictions and guidelines around our activities. Outside is not such a challenge. Outside in the open air, as everybody has found this summer, is a little bit safer by nature. A lot of skiers and snowboarders are already in the habit of wearing masks and face coverings. So there's some natural protection. And of course, there's a lot of space other than on the chairlifts. And we expect that, much like dining, as long as you are in the same family group or you're in a social group that has decided they are a pod and are playing by the rules, there's no problem there. But I expect the whole idea of a singles line and getting onto a chairlift with people you don't know is probably something we may look back at the bygone era of skiing and when that was a thing, or sometime in the future it will come back. But outside operations, not so much impact. Ski lodge operations are impacted by all of the same issues that restaurateurs and retail shop owners have today. How many people can you have a building at one time and do it safely? How do you maintain spacing? And for the sport of skiing, which is as much about the social experience as it is about the sport, how do you maintain a sense of social celebration and après ski in an environment that's now designed to be as far apart as possible? And we hope that out of many crises come great innovation. And so we talk on a regular basis throughout the industry, and there's ski industry is very transparent, very sharing. So all best practices and goods ideas get shared pretty quickly. Nobody has a patent on any great idea. And as we go through that, we're finding opportunities, if we look through a different lens, that are forcing us to reconsider some of the habits and usual practices and operational practices that maybe could actually be improved because we're forced to look at it in a different way and consider how do we move people quickly with less friction, with less interaction points, and focus on the core of good old ski experience without quite so many of the trappings and frills that it's taken on these days. So it's a super exciting project. We are a nonprofit, board-driven, volunteer, committee-driven. So the job for me is not just operating a ski area, something I've got a lot of experience with, but also board governance, and in this case, a board that's relatively young as an organization. They've joined together for the purpose of buying the asset, and then since then, in terms of managing it and launching it, and that's been a couple months, 3 months. So it's a great cultural experiment of aligning values and mission and objectives and getting everybody moving the same direction, and doing it often without seeing each other in person, which is like this meeting, something even 100 and 120 days into this new world experience. I think we're all still learning how to deal with on a regular basis. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Bill, that's no singles line is really bad news.
Right? Can you imagine? I mean, that's. Do
you think there'll be more people? There's been in the trend in the recent years of more people skiing up in the mountains to get some early exercise. Any indication that there'll be more of that?
Oh, I mean, personally, I think so. It's been growing, and I think this spring when we all locked down, it wasn't such great weather, anyways, and maybe we all felt it was a short-term thing that we'd get through. And here comes summer, and it's been a pretty beautiful summer. Everybody's outside and exercising. A lot of people reach, all the news stories. You can't buy a bicycle. People rediscovering sports that they weren't involved in before. In the case of bicycling, now with e-bikes, that's opened it up to a whole new group of people who might not have considered it. And so I have to wonder, and there is something, if there's a silver lining, and I've got a lot of friends who are restaurateurs, who will tell me, listen, we're barely making it. We're paying the rent. We're trying to keep our employees going. There are days we wonder, whether it's worth it, but it's a good social cause and it's my business. It's the only thing I know. So I get up and keep persevering. But what comes mid-September when outdoor dining on the street and the sidewalk isn't so comfortable? And, inside dining is restricted at that kind of seating capacity, then you really have, no margin. So I think we're in for a tough fall, and depending where you are in the country, but certainly in our area where there's more time inside and being cooped up. So to answer your question, by the time winter comes and snow sports activities, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, skinning, uphill skiing, backcountry skiing like at Hogback and cross-country at Prospect and those areas, fat tire biking, all those things, I'm sure there's going to be quite a bit of growth and demand for that. People are going to want to get outside.
Bill, George has a question for you.
Excellent.
Hi, Bill. George Antes. Most of us, of course, are not in a position to become members of the club. I think almost all of us are pleased that that your organization was the winner. I think it's the best use of the mountain and the best outcome for the members and for most of the community. There's a lot that can be said about how the previous owners ran things, but I think for those of us who are in the community, one of the most important things was that my perception is that they didn't take care of their low-level employees, and they didn't take care of, obviously, as they started running out of money, they didn't take care of those in the community who they were doing business with. I'm pleased to hear that you are without debt, and it sounds like you'll be able to be a responsible business partner with those who you're doing business with. But I just want to know what you're looking at in terms of taking care of your low-level employees and making sure that that they're not I guess that they're taken care of as you go forward.
That opens up sort of a broad topic. Sorry, your picture went away there, but I hope you can still hear me. Yes, the stories that precede me are, broad and many, and in some cases unbelievable, yet I know them to be true from almost the get-go. I can't stress enough, and I apologize if it's a repeat of what you know, or I've said it before. The group that purchased the resort, there are a couple of really important things that resonated when I talked to them about this opportunity. And it's not an opportunity for everybody. I think some traditional ski area operators didn't quite see what the opportunity here was. It is first and foremost described as a ski club. It's, as you probably know, we've divested of most of the non-core assets. The first thing we did was sell the Haystack Golf Course to John Clantis, who's run it for years, is now living his dream of owning his own golf course. And not only was that important to us because we knew we were not golf course operators or broad resort operators or resort developers in any way, we felt it's important that our members still have access to it, but we didn't need to control the revenue and we didn't need to control the operation. And we know that there are others who are very good at their specific careers to do that. And it is also a boon to the community, which now has access to a great public course again. And by the way, he is closing in hard on his entire annual budget of rounds, and it's only August 1st. So it clearly has worked out. The same approach to some of the in holdings. We sold the Dubberry on Route 100, and Tim Ryan is renovating that. And I think we'll do an excellent job with a budget focused in the Snow Goose. Is in the process of closing on that sale. So another entrepreneur doing what they're focused on and not being part of the closed or insular Hermitage Club or perceived. The Hermitage Inn, historic Hermitage Inn with its great cross-country trails and all the history there, with some hard swallows because it's a big part of the social experience at the Hermitage Club. That is for sale. I should say it's been through its due diligence and will be sold to some business owners who are experienced and know what they're doing with that business. And we have one more inn, the Horizon Inn on Route 9, that has seen better days, but has some bones and has a couple people who are making offers on that. So we really felt it was important to focus on the ski area, lifts and snowmaking, and the lodge to support that, and that's it. We do own the real estate development rights under the master plan, and we've been spending a lot of time with the regional representative here on the Act 250, curing some of the ills that were left behind, and there were many. But most importantly, making a couple of things clear about the need to revise and downscale the master plan. We are not resort developers, and we won't be resort developers. We may very well, likely, work with developers to follow that plan through. It's important to the local employment base. It's important to the tax base. It drives revenue into the community. And frankly, it supports the club because about 75% of our club members today are either primary residents, full-time residents in the area, secondary home and seasonal home owners. It's interesting, a number of our seasonal homeowners in the last 3 months have become permanent residents. Not a surprise. I know you're all seeing that through the communities. And certainly, I know a lot of families that have been here since March 13, basically permanently. So, a lot of change there. I think it was George's question specifically about the employees. We're very selective. We're building a small team, a tight full-time year-round team that can wear many hats. We're also entrepreneurial and recognize that to be successful in the ski business, it's not just about winter. You need to work year-round to sustain the business. And that only comes, like most successful vocation, avocation blends, if you're passionate about the business. And that really trickles down all the way through. Our employment needs won't be nearly what they were under the large, expansive program. And so when we pick employees, we want to pick people that are on board with us, for even if it's seasonally, for the long haul, for the same reasons and the good reasons. I'm not sure. I can only imagine what George is referencing when he talks about treatment of lower level employees, only because I know that the solution to many problems was just to throw more employees at it. And I've got a good vision of probably what that transaction was like, rather than getting to the root cause of whatever the issue was. So I think it's fair to say we're here to provide a consistent, timely, quality level of service to our club members. It's an exceptionally beautiful building, an opulent building, but skiing and the sport of skiing and what our this membership has expressed as member owners and what they're interested in is a pretty basic core ski experience. No lobster Newburgh at lunch. It's just the best grilled cheese you can find. And that's our objective.
Great. I was up in the valley on Saturday, and one of those key economic indicators up there was pretty good. The sticky buns shop, cinnamon bun shop was stacked parking lot, and the smells were wafting down Route 100.
Yeah. I've discovered that's a ritual visit.
Yeah.
Let's see, do we have other questions? Yes, we have some in the here, I think. Marty, do you have a question?
I just wanted Bill to just address, are the legal issues behind you now so that you can move forward? Unfortunately, the newspaper is filled with more of the legal challenges than the plans to move forward. So if you could just comment on the status of all these legal issues.
Well, the one I like best is that, and I, with all respect, because Jim Barnes clearly had a great vision and some audacious goals, as I guess the ski Walt Disney of Southern Vermont. But I think the best one is owing $35 a week for, I think it's 225 years to pay one of his vendors. As it regards the club, certainly nothing has slowed us down. We're moving forward 100%. The sale through the courts was signed off and certified, and I can't imagine the uproar to the federal bankruptcy system that would be caused if you could appeal, a closed order. That said, and it's probably not surprising that there are tendrils of ongoing efforts to challenge, but frankly, without getting too much comment, which we don't around those issues, it's not really a factor in our planning, our operating plans, our opening in November, or anything else that's crossing my desk.
Bill, being a bicyclist, are fat tire bikes going to be allowed on the mountain 12 months of the year?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't gotten that far to think, but I did have a very nice meeting. I don't know if you know Mike Purcell.
I do.
I know. I know it's a setup. Yeah, I had a very nice meeting with Mike this morning, and we talked a lot about trails. I'm a devout biker, and I'm just beginning to figure out the trail system here. So we'll see. I need to get the ski area operating first, and then we'll start looking at some of those periphery things. But I think what's important, because it sort of underlines how our approach might be a little different. Most resort developers, and I have been that developer, and my job has been to develop new buildings, new businesses, new recreation, and to wrap our arms around as much of it as possible, and to smoothly and deftly extract as much money out of the customer wallet as possible before they realize it. The approach here is much different. It comes back to being a ski area. We'll have a retail shop, and in the summer, sort of an adventure center. But if people want to go boating on the lake, we don't want to be in the boating business. We just want to connect them with the people that are in the boating business. If they want to learn how to fly fish and need a fly fishing guide, we don't need to invent the Hermitage Fly Fishing School. There are plenty of great fly fishing folks in the area. We just want to connect them. And we don't need to get into the revenue streams. The same goes with biking. I rode my first e-bike about a week ago from Ronnie's over in Bennington. I think it was just pure pride and ego that I was never going to get on a battery powered bike. But I found it was fantastic. I had a really nice specialized mountain bike. I can't believe it's $10,000 or whatever it was. It was top of the line, but it was incredible. And I'm excited about it. It just opens up, more activities and more recreation for everybody in the Southern Vermont and Western Massachusetts area, where there's just so much to do. So a big part of our focus in the off-winter season won't be developing those businesses, but finding ways for people to get access to them and marry them up and make them aware, frankly, of everything there is to do. Because I think it used to be, I used the word before, rather insular. A great example is even in the winter, we may or may not have dinner service. It's in our lodge, it's not a primary focus. We're much more interested in, well, face it, if you spend 10 or 12 hours in a building, you probably don't want to come back and also have your dinner there. But we'd rather have people go out into the local community, support the local restaurants. That's a bit more of a challenge and a mouthful, in the age of COVID, but it's the objective is to focus on skiing, focus on a great day, and then connect people with the community in the right ways.
Bill, so I think the club idea actually started with the owner before Jim, but one of his issues were to keep it snowboard free. And is the club going to keep the mountain snowboard free? And his idea was just to have the Mount Snow bus come and pick up the snowboarders that lived there and participate and keep it just ski. What you're going to do?
Well, I think that's a factor of, it's been a lot of time since then. I don't think the world is like that anymore. As Tamara noted at the outset, it's interesting. I was a diehard skier, ran U.S. Eastern ski racing, which certainly looked down its nose at snowboarding. And then in about one day of discovering how great snowboarding was, then joined Burton and was their World Cup team coach. And since then, I'm a 50-50 guy. It all depends. Depends how the powder is, depends what I'm doing, depends who I'm with. Yeah, no, I mean, snowboards are part of the sport, brought a lot of innovation to the sport. In some ways, you could say kind of saved the sport during a flagging period of lack of innovation. So bring them on. Good for the snowboarders. I know not every member feels that way, but that's just the way people feel at any ski area. Yeah, we're not Mad River Glen or Deer Valley. All comers are welcome.
Yeah, I think he was older. I think he was over 70 and more just safer skiing for that person. And it's tough to compete with Mount Snow's park. But let's see, do we have any other questions? I see something here. Roger. Will skiing be reserved for members only?
Yes, and it is by deed restriction. When Mount Snow sold the resort, it came with a deed restriction, and there are decades left on that, that it can only be operated as a private ski area. And that's one of the reasons that the purchase by the members was really the best outcome. Otherwise, the ski asset, I don't know what else it would have practically been used for. And certainly the value of the real estate in the area would have been suppressed. So it doesn't mean there aren't opportunities for one-off, local access, but we would be up over our ski tips, as we would say, to be thinking that far ahead. Right now, we're just focused on getting it open.
How much you lease land from not the Green Mountain Forest, but for the town of Wilmington, I think? How much of the land is leased from them versus owned?
Oh, most of it. And it's called the Glebe lease. And you'll have to forgive me. I don't know the lease number off the top of my head, but it is public record. And it extends well far back and has a fairly convoluted formula for deriving it. But I haven't, since it's already in place and this year's taxes for the town have been established, or budget, I should say, for the town's been established. I haven't dug into it yet.
Good. Yeah. Let's see. Let me just check, see if there's other questions here. What is the cost of membership?
Yes, everybody wants to know, and you're all sitting down, but it's okay because I'll qualify. It's a $50,000 initiation, and then it's $15,000 a year annual dues. And we've looked at that. Some people have figured that out as they talk to their friends about joining. And for a family of 4 or 5, and that's the average in the club, is 4.5. Amortized over a typical 8 or 10 year membership, and the number of ski days available, it comes out to just about what you would pay for a full price lift ticket at the window next door at Mount Snow. So if people do the value measurement and think about that's the way they want to spend their ski budget over time, and what trips they would otherwise take with airfare and lodging and meals and everything out west, it actually pencils in pretty good if you're the right demographic and fortunate to be able to think about that. It's certainly not the most expensive ski club or country club or yacht club.
Well, that's great. It was a great presentation. I'll just ask once more if there are any other questions out there. And I'm not seeing any. So we really appreciate your coming on board and keeping us informed. And there's a Rotary Club up there in Dover with a good group of people. If you find yourself with time after your first year or so of initiation, and 2 clubs down here. If you want to get away from that market, we have a noon and a morning club for you.
It's a good opportunity for me to come down and visit my mom. She's still in Brattleboro. So
there you go. Good.
I'm sure she could use a social drive by. I had a Zoom call also with the Rotary Club up here. So that was very nice. And I hope I'm not the best Zoomer because I forget to look at the camera and I'm always looking down. So I hope I performed all right for you folks. And if you ever have any questions, you can find my email through the chain of setting this up, and happy to converse.
You did a great job and you're very comfortable, and we appreciate all the information you shared with us, and best of luck in this adventure. Sounds like you're a perfect fit.
I hope so. It feels good. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bill.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to close.